What's the most common misunderstanding that people have, especially strong ones, where people come to you, they really, really think something's right, and then it's just not right?
So in Sprout School, a lot of the time it's things like they'll say to me, particularly in the first week when I'm asking people to introduce themselves, they'll post a photo and they haven't done any modules yet. They're just introducing themselves and they'll
Yeah.
post a photo of their garden and they'll be like, this area of my garden is going to be my entertaining space. I'm going to put the barbecue patio over here and I'm going to put
Mhm.
this. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then we do module 1 and 2 and then they go back and they go, yeah, so that's actually my shade garden. Or, no, that's
Yeah,
actually now my veggie patch because that's full sun. So, yeah, a lot of the time it's just people's preconceived ideas about what they want where because it doesn't work when we go
So
and
it's
look
like
at their light and orientation.
yeah, so, like location, orientation, light, that's interesting because you do I mean, you do get a lot of people as well, but just about location, like climate, where they saw something on Instagram and they were like, "I want that hydrangea in my property," and it's like, "You do not. That is not the right spot," you know?
Yeah, sometimes there is a bit of that. And again, we talk a lot about, the right plant for the right place. And I mean, a lot of the time, once they understand the available light, the soil type, and then just actually get their head around their climate or how to search for things in their climatic zone, then yeah, they stop asking for random plants in the wrong climatic zone.
Yeah. Well, one of my pet peeves. We work in a suburb that's it's like it's on a it's a very small hill, but there's a long sort of sweeping gradient. So all the houses sort of have a quite a high wall because there's maybe a 6 foot tall retaining wall and then a 6 foot tall fence for the house
Hmm.
behind it, right? And the hill goes down from east to west,
Yep.
and so um, that sort of northern corner of the
Hmm.
property gets an incredible amount of shade, right?
Yep.
And it may not get any sunlight at all. And these are small blocks, and you know what it's like. Everybody wants a lawn, so everybody
Yep.
just plants the whole thing out with lawn, and then they come back to us and they're like,
Uh,
"Hey, this area is struggling. What can we do? Should we aerate it? Can we, whatever? Is it bugs? That's a common
yeah.
one. Are the bugs killing my lawn? It's
Blame it
like,
on the bugs.
yeah, everything's blamed on the bugs, and it's just like you just can't grow lawn there. And it's funny how people it takes them a while to come around to the idea. Sometimes
Yeah.
like there's no light. Like, what are you? Yeah,
No.
exactly.
Look, and one of the biggest things is if you purely looked at the north, south, east, west orientation and you didn't do things like observe the sun's movements, consider the change in the angle of the sun between winter and summer, or consider the slope of the block. Like technically, if you look at a flat picture of my property, my backyard is on the south side of my house. So you would presume, just looking at
Right.
a flat picture of my property, that the south side of my house would theoretically be the shady side of my house. But the south side of my house is a north-facing slope. So it's actually the
Right.
sunniest.
Right. Yeah, because I've seen you had a video on with Gardening Australia where
Yep,
they
it
came to
came
your
from one of
house,
those. Yeah.
and for some strange reason, you basically built your house on the side of a cliff, right?
Yeah, I know. I didn't build it, but yes, it is basically a cliff,
You
yeah.
had to have like a harness and straps just to walk out to do the washing.
Pretty
It's
much
like
like this.
pretty
So
insane. Yeah.
I think when we got my dad, who's an engineer, to help us with the calculating the rise and the run of the steps in the backyard, he said it's about a 33-degree slope. So
Oh, yeah,
it's
that's insane. That's yeah. And I love sport. Tour de France is on right now. Like some of the most insane climbs I've got in the Tour de France are about 11-12% sort of thing. I mean they've got bits where like short runs that'll be more than that, but 33% is insane. You watch those guys cycling, late at night, and you're like, gee. I felt sorry for that presenter. It's
I
like,
know. Poor Jane, I know. And the bit where she's walking up our driveway,
yeah,
so they could get the different camera angles because they only had one camera. Of course, she had to do it like 5 different times, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, she was struggling. She's not the youngest person out there, and I was like, man, this is funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if did she know what she was getting into before? Like
She
she
d
had.
Yeah.
Oh, she
Yeah.
did good. Okay.
She knew what she was I've known Jane for like 16, 15 years. So she's beautiful.
I thought it would be hilarious if like some producer, like she didn't know you or anything. Some producers just be like, "Oh, there's a garden. We're going to go have a look at it," And she's like, "No, like completely unaware." Rocks up in high heels or something like that.
Thankfully,
Yeah,
Jane is a lot more practical than that.
yeah, but you know what I mean. It would have been
Yeah.
hilarious. Oh man. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you're talking about the orientation of the sun. So your house, because it's on a hill,
Yeah.
all the south-facing stuff that you would genuinely consider would be shaded. The gradient's so strong that it's
Yeah.
actually fully exposed, basically full sun.
Yep. So if I stand at the very back of my block, on my back lawn, I'm actually higher than my house.
Yeah.
So that's how steep it is. So yeah, that's a perfect example of that. And then because of my slope, I have little microclimates, little pockets, where it's really shaded, where it's really sunny. And that's something that again we talk about a lot in Sprout School, is looking for those little microclimates and then using them to your advantage. I've got a bamboo shady garden 3 meters up the hill. I have a cacti and succulent garden.
Yeah, wow. So
Yeah.
that's fun for somebody who's a garden lover too, because you can, you know, we're all like this. Like you go in the shops and you see the beautiful plant, and you're like, "Oh, I want to buy that one," and then you
Yeah.
just got no place for it, and so, damn it. And we try. Some of these behind me, these indoor plants, I knew they'd be risky because there's only a tiny window here, and it's all artificial
Ah,
light.
right.
And I was like, "Oh, I know some of these will work because I've done them indoors before." Some of them. The other thing is I put a heaps of insulation on the roof,
Mhm.
which is very good at keeping the shed really cold. And so
Right.
in winter, and I'm like, so I've just thrown these places, some of these plants, they'll probably come back when it warms up a little bit. But, you're just like, I don't know if it will work, but I'm going to give it a crack anyway. I'm going to try. And it'd be fun. My property is nothing like yours. It's flat. It's, I can't experiment too much. And so it would be fun from someone who loves gardens to be able to go, oh, I'm going to have a full shade. I've got a full shade spot, which is a bit colder, maybe at the bottom of the hill, and I've got a
Yeah.
full sun spot at the top. And you've got a bath at your
I do
house.
have a bath. I have an outdoor tub. It's my favorite place.
Well, being at the top of the hill, like, I don't know how the privacy is.
Don't worry, I wear swimmers.
Okay, yeah.
And like our backyard is kind of bizarre in that you can see the people who live behind us because their house is even higher than ours. But we've been on their balcony and you can't see like into our garden or anything like that. So it is actually quite private, and we are best friends with neighbours on both sides. So
That's good.
it's not that
Yeah.
bad.
So that, you can just send them a text message.
Yeah, warning.
Exactly. Yeah. Shield your eyes. Don't look, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your biggest misconception then is the light orientation. I would have thought it would be soil.
Look, soil is pretty much the next
Yeah.
thing down on the card. Probably being a WA, you're thinking soil or sand, should it be?
Yeah, with soil, it's ambitious to call it soil. I mean,
Yeah.
you're being
This
very
practical.
friendly there to us. Yeah.
Yeah, look, and soil is probably one of the next big things. We cover it in Sprout School. I make people play with their soil. They do all sorts of things with their soil they probably have never done with their soil before. And we're basically, by the end of Sprout School, we try and classify it using the soil classification pyramid. So we try and give their soil a name. I get them to understand their soil. Is it sandy? Is it loamy? Is it clay? Is it full of rocks? Is it free draining? So, just getting your head around that. And that misconception that I've heard so many times when I've done like public talks or even on Instagram, people say things like, I've got a clay soil and I can't grow anything, or because I've got a clay soil, I can't grow anything. And you think,
Right.
no. You just got to choose the right plants.
Hey, if you love the podcast, jump on our Patreon. It's the Patreon to keep this podcast going. The link is in the YouTube description.